Hello everyone, I am Lela Gradani, as Mr. Miguel said, research scientist at Tbilisi State University, Vakhushti Bagrationi Institute of Geography, Tbilisi, Georgia. First of all, I want to say some thank you for organizers for inviting me. I think I have a big responsibility because I have to present my presentation, because today my presentation topic will be sustainable management of Georgian hydroelectric heritage. Georgia Georgia is a post-Soviet Union country located in the Caucasus region, East Europe. And let's get down to the presentation. From the natural resources of Georgia, the hydropower resources take the first place. Taking into account the entire area of the country is one of the first place in the world. There are 26,000 rivers found in Georgia with the total length of approximately 16 kilometers. From the total amount of rivers, 300 have an energy industrial value. Hydroenergetic resources in Georgia are not evenly allocated. 62% of resources are allocated in the western Georgia and 28% in the east. With the highest energetic value, rivers Nguri, Rioni, and Kura, they are very big rivers in Georgia, are distinguished. The most of the exciting power plants and distributing. The history of hydroelectric energy in Georgia, industry of hydroenergy in Georgia starts in 1887 when hitting the Georgian Dramatic Theatre. Thermal energies were installed in Tbilisi. The Swedish company Blanche conduct the works. Georgian water and public figure, very famous person in Georgia, Ilya Chavchavadze, was the initiator and soul of this case. First hydropower station was launched in 1898, Borjomi station, and I will mention this station later. One of the first hydropower plant in the former Russian Empire. After the Petersburg and New Athens power plants, the building was built by Maldengauer. The hydropower plant stopped power generation in the 1950s. By the end of the 1930s, there were several small hydropower plants and several dozen thermal power plants in Georgia. In the western Georgia, reservoirs with them are only used for collecting water for hydroenergy plants, while in the east, irrigation and other industries are priorities. The history of harnessing hydroelectricity starts in Bavaria, dating 1875, and very soon in 1898 in Borjomi for power supply of the Borjomi resort. The use of industrial heritage in Georgia for tourism purposes became very active in recent years, and it's quite successful. In this case, the emphasis in placed on the transformation of Soviet period factories into tourist and entertainment locations, which in turn implies the maximization of the object in its original forms. As for hydroelectric heritage, there are only future projects that are already a good start. Few researchers have addressed these links between hydroelectric heritage and tourism development. Unfortunately, scientific publications are less common in this regard, and mainly on the example of Europe. Inserting the topic in Georgia has just begun. Later, I will present a general overview of Georgia's hydroelectric heritage in order to investigate their significance in tourism development. I mentioned Borjomi hydroelectric power in Georgia. Borjomi power plant was the first in Georgia. As for a hydroelectric heritage, the country is actively undergoing a hydroelectric heritage use in tourist terms. Georgia's first hydropower plant is a very good example of this. The hydropower plant has a status of cultural heritage monument, and the Georgia Energy Development Fund plans to implement hydropower plant on hydropower plant. In the first part of the resort, building will be the first kind of museum section demonstrated by the turbine generator and other electrical mechanical equipment of the hydropower plant establishment. And in the second part of the hydropower plant, building will be equipped with modern electric mechanical equipments. Within the renovated project, the resource pool will no longer carry out its original purpose and will have only a function of the this touristical element. I want to show some reservoirs in Georgia. They have very interesting history. Tsalka Reservoir, it's the oldest in Georgia. While digging, the water covered the 6 villages where ethnic Greeks lived. Among the buildings were known as St. Stepan's temple. In winter, when the water level decreases and the surface of the water fades, the ruin of the church are covered by the water. Other monuments of these artifacts have been here in Soviet era, and this makes it interesting to double this place. The second one is Sione. Around the Sione Reservoir, in particular the coastal zone, has been used as a recreational resort, as an artificial beach. This is an example of how the use of the reservoir area in recreation resource for the population. The state plans to make the area better and create the appropriate infrastructure. The local population will have a source of additional income. The third one is the Genuali water reservoir located in the medieval city of the Genuali. After the end of the Soviet period, they actively began archaeological excavations and sinking the city. There are many important artifacts found there. The 20th century temple. The church is free from the water only in the winter, when the water is completely freezing. And the territory, the Genuali Reservoir, occupied by flooding Genuali Reservoir before and after. You see the territory which was the flooded after the very important place for Georgia. Anguri hydroelectric dam. Development of the industry became hyperactive during the period of the Soviet Union. Thus, the major of the hydropower plants were built in this period. One of them is Anguri Dam. In Georgia, a large deficit of the electricity increased demand for electricity gave chance Georgia scientists and engineers together with foreign specialists to implement and build such a unique hydropower plant, such as the Anguri hydropower project, which was commissioned in 1978. It is the largest hydropower plant in the South Caucasus. There are 4 turbines where the building is the largest underground building in Europe. The highest of the floor is 65 meters. The breadth is 36 meters. From the jar of Saberio, Anguri water is brought from about 19 kilometers. For many years, many delegations visited of the Soviet Union Republic and abroad, namely from the US, France, Italy, England, and as one of the surprise and excitement over the unique power and the scope of the hydropower plant. This Enguri Dam, the tourism zone infrastructure of the Enguri hydroelectric dam includes tourism cities, scientific and discovering center, outdoor concert space, and the highest elevation in the world on this dam. The concept of its development also discusses the use of dam for various installation imaginary activities. Enguri hydropower plant will be the first industrial monument for tourists in Georgia. On September 4, 2015, the status of the national category monument was awarded to the Enguri Hydro Dam by the Georgian government. This is Enguri. Again, the Enguri will become the first industrial heritage city with a museum complex, as I mentioned, as it is the most significant strategic structure in terms of Georgia's energy system. Currently, 67 hydroelectric power stations operate in the country. The main part of them is located in western Georgia. The officials were less than concerned with the fate of the architectural heritage, like churches, castles, towers, etc., flooding the cities of cultural heritage. Today, Georgia is experiencing a boom in the construction of hydroelectric power stations. You see the blue is there. The color is built already. Light blue is current projects, and green potential projects. Modernization of electric system, general infrastructure is among the main challenges that the state faces. Solving these problems would, however, require substantial investment on behalf of investors. However, the treatment of cultural heritage changed considerably in the later half of the 20th century. Industrial heritage became the newest form of cultural heritage for Georgia.